Well, let's go back 4 years ago. I love to tell this story. I was at the state park setting up for a live radio show. I got a call from Joe Hicks, 5 o'clock in the morning. Joe Hicks said, John Stokes in the back of Mill Creek got a big gator. What does he need? He can't get it in the boat. I said, what the devil you want me to do about it? Ain't nothing else. He said, well, he just don't know what to do. So I said, tell him to call me. So John called me. Right, then you called me, and I told you to tie it up to the side of the boat and ease back to the Shell Creek land.
No, first you told him to throw it in the boat that Troy puts 800
zero. We had tried that. That didn't work.
We tried.
So you did tie it up, and you got it back to the landing. All right, let's fast forward.
The local game warden come.
Well, it was
Celeste.
Mm-hmm. Celeste came and brought us biscuits to the state park.
Yes.
And she showed me the picture that you had taken. Y'all had pulled it up on the landing, and she showed me the picture. And Dan Quincy was there, the local game warden. I said, Dan, this is a new state record. Go help him get it in here before I go off the air. So he turned his blue lights and sirens on and left. And he can't, y'all got it loaded up. Thanks to Brent Collins
Had Brent not showed up, we would still be there trying to load the gator.
A 15-foot, 1,000-pound alligator. And here we are on the air on the Gettin Outdoors show. Mr. Jimmy Brock was sitting there with me. And y'all pulled up with that big gator on the trailer. Now, and I'd already told everybody it was probably, 150, 200 people there.
You had a crowd.
It was a lot of people there when we got there.
And Mandy, you'd think she was asleep this morning. She'd been up all night fighting that alligator. And she got on the air with me while we was on the air. Rusty was filming and Stover Perriman was taking pictures for me. And we were on the air when they were trying to winch it with a boat winch off the trailer. And it folded up like it just cracked everything, didn't it, John? It broke it. It broke it. No, Chris Jaworski was there, and Mandy. I was trying to get an interview out of her, but she was about half asleep. But now y'all are both wide awake. Let's go through that hunt, Mandy. I know y'all get tired of doing it, but it's people out there let's go through that night hunt. Name the team. What time y'all started? When you hooked up? Let's go over it. Y'all just go over it with us.
Well, it was me and John, my brother-in-law Kevin Jenkins, and his kids at the time, which were 14 and 16, Savannah and Parker. This was that Friday night hunt. The night before, me and John and Kevin just went out for a few hours. We were back in by midnight, and so that day on Friday, John and Kevin both decided to go into work, and my oldest child was 6, so I had taken him to the pediatrician down in Mobile. So we were all, as adults, we were tired. The kids had been at school. But anyway, we were not fired up about hunting that night. The adults, anyway. The kids never been. They were just happy to be there. So without just being deliberate and saying it, I think in all our minds we thought we're going to either kill an alligator tonight or we're just not going to be able to do this. Yeah. We were exhausted. Yeah. We were truly tired. Anyway, we met up at Shell Creek Landing. We just trolled around there towards the dam, and there were some gators there. We tried to hook to no avail. We couldn't get in a hook in any of those. And anyway, long story short, we go on up into Mill Creek about 10 after 10. And, due to the fact we had been gator hunting all our lives, this was the first time we'd ever been gator hunting. We thought, well, nobody brings alligators in before midnight. Yeah. Let's just go in, cut the lights off, and just kind of hang out in the boat and rest a while.
Yeah, take a nap.
Well, that's what we did, and we were kind of sitting there for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure Kevin and John had dozed off, but the rest of us didn't really get good laying position, so we were not asleep. And Parker, which was 14, he was fired up. He
fired up like a Halloween cat.
Yeah, and it was pitch black. It was pitch black in this slough, and we were all just kind of hanging out there. And Parker I heard him sigh, and he said, I just don't understand why we're doing this. Well, that broke the boat up. Everybody's laughing. And so I just sit up out of the boat and grab the spotlight, and just for giggles, I guess, I just shined across the back of the slough. And sure enough, there was some there was a gator over there. It ended up, we're pretty sure there was 2 gators in the slough that night.
Yeah.
After the hunt, we decided it was. But anyway, so that started the actual active hunting at that point, and it was on from that point till we dispatched the alligator the next morning. That particular gator that I saw was not the one we hooked.
Yeah.
We were actually kind of trolling behind that one in the slough. When we shined back around, we lost it, and we shined back around, and there was another alligator back where we started. And at that time, we thought, well, that alligator's fast, thinking it had done turned and went back where it came. When we really don't think that was the case. I think the commotion of us kind of trolling behind that one made this bigger one curious. And he came out, and, you know, you think about a wild ride for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And there were some tense times when we hooked him and he got off and we had to find him again. But none of these things lasted but for just a short while.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of intense for a few minutes here and a few minutes there. But the majority of the night, we're just kind of sitting there fellowshipping all night, just laughing and carrying on.
Well, when y'all hooked him up and he took off and pulled the boat into the stump, now that was the scariest part.
That was towards the end.
Talk about that.
We had been on him for, I don't know, 4.5 hours by this time. And we had been over...
Had him hooked for that long.
Absolutely. We had been over to the lily pads. It was real shallow. John had a boat oar down in the water trying to hold the boat still so that Kevin could try to get some of the lily pads off of the gator, or so that we could actually see him. All we could see was a portion of his tail.
Yeah.
And again, you have to keep in mind, there's no way we could have understood how big this alligator was. None. He had been under the water the entire time. You know, we saw glimpses of him. So anyway, this went on for 20 or 30 minutes of John trying to hold the boat stationary while Kevin's just trying to access as much of the gator as he could see. And so I think we got another hook in him while he was there. Yeah. Well, that kind of irritated him a little bit as far as he just started backing out of the lily pads. Well, when he did, Kevin's like, Mandy, you get the gun ready in case we get him. Because we had him secured to the boat. Mm-hmm. We had a snare on him, and it was already secured to the boat. Anyway.
Bad idea.
Yeah, it was a bad idea. Well, if we hadn't had that, I feel like we'd have lost him. But the bad idea was the fact that he pulled us with it, you know. Yeah. But anyway, he backed out, and the night had got kind of antsy for about 30 minutes, and I fired at the alligator before he was close enough to the surface, and the bullets ricocheted. Well, the noise had to have been the noise of the gun that spooked him. Well, when it scared him, he lunged with all he had left. 15 feet, 1,000 pounds. Across the slough. Everybody asked, did he roll? No. He just took that tail and tried to leave, you know. And when he did, it pulled our gator across the slough, and we crashed the boat, and it crashed the boat into a stump. And all y'all hit the floorboard. We did. Now, when that happened, John and Kevin were standing on the bow of the boat. I mean, it was just a miracle that at least one of them didn't go in the water. You know, there's a lot of scary times. But anyway, I think him having to stay underwater as long as he did, the 2 times that he stayed down, one time 45 minutes, the next time an hour and a half. He was already tired from that, and when he snatched the boat, it spent. I mean, he didn't have anything left. We, as adults, we got up and let's try one more time. If we can't kill him this time, we'll let him go, because the kids were in the boat, and that got kind of hairy. Hey, we got to take a break. We're talking with Mandy about her night killing and catching the world record Stokes alligator. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Todd Trader wants to know what inspired or made her apply for a tag to begin with. Well, Todd, you have to know her family. But I tell you, the minute that I walked into the G's Bend Ferry Terminal in 2012 and saw the Fancher Gator, the size of his back feet alone, not just the body, the back feet were so impressive to me that I looked at John and said, this is something I'm going to do. Yeah. And I think I declared then that I would catch one bigger.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Gettin Outdoors Radio Network. Last segment, I don't know what 2 hours goes, fastest 2 hours in radio. John and Mandy Stokes in the studio. We've talked to Troy, Landry, and Bruce, the Alligator Man. Mandy's in the middle of telling her story about capturing the world record Stokes alligator, 15 feet, 9 inches long, 1,011.5 pounds. But Mandy, let's get back to he drug you through the water and pulled you into a stump, knocked all of you in the boat, and
all the lights were out. This was sometime during the 4 o'clock hour. We killed him we dispatched him right about 4:45, so it was between 4 and 4:45. Anyway, when he pulled the boat and we crashed into the stump, all the lights come unhooked. It was pitch black dark. We didn't know if we had an alligator. We didn't know if we had a hole in our boat. We just kind of gathered ourselves together, got up, turned our lights back on. And like I said, we did make the decision when we realized we still had him, because the snare was still on his tail that pulled the boat. And it was towards the end of the tail. It wasn't far up the tail. And we could see that tail was just under the water. And it's almost like his head was at the bottom, the way his tail was angled. But anyway, we decided let's just try one more time, because at this point we also were running out of equipment. We
lost all your hooks.
Yeah.
We were
5 hooks.
We were almost out of hooks. Anyway, all that being said, we borrowed the boat from Kevin's father-in-law too. I mean, none of us owned a boat, and so Kevin was just looking around for the next approach at this point. And there was a little roll of trot line cord. It was almost empty roll. It was just a little bit left on it. And he said, I think I'll tie a weight and a hook on this cord. He said, and he's just guessing where his head could possibly be. And he said, I'm going to lower this down and try to lift him up. And Mandy, you just be ready. Well, John said, before we do any of that, he said, let's try to get another snare on his tail. Well, we had one more snare. And his tail was, like I said, just at the top of the water. The kids were holding the lights for John, and John put the snare in there and got it even farther up on his tail and snared it off and tied it to the boat at that point. So we had at least 2 snares, if not some cord on him too. But anyway, and it was, I've said many times, we had a divine appointment in that slough that night. And some of the things I've already said will kind of tell you why. But Kevin lowered that weight and hook down there and snatched up on it, and he just looked at me with great big eyes. He said, I got him. We didn't know what part of him he had, but he lowered it. I mean, he was all he could do to pull him to the top. And John's holding the light, and me and him and Kevin are shoulder to shoulder right there at the boat, because we're kind of big people. Anyway, and when his head, I made sure his head broke the plane of the water. I pulled the trigger, and that alligator just rolled over. Dead. And the first thing I saw was his back foot. Yeah. And I saw the infuriator just flash through my mind.
And you had your pearls on.
I did.
Mandy Stokes. We're going to sit down. I want to sit down. We're going to make an appointment. Come into y'all's new house at the camp house, and we're going to sit down and tell that story and put it on YouTube. Okay. I think the public deserves that. I really do. And we got 1 minute. I want to take this 1 minute to thank Mandy and John for getting up and being here. You guys just don't know how good a ride it's been. Y'all let me ride with you since y'all harvested the Stokes world record alligator. I feel like I was in the boat with you many times I heard the story. Thank y'all for being here today.